welcome into the one of the last shows. We're still working on it, but
we'll
welcome
see.
into,
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We're glad to have you here on this afternoon edition of River Valley Touchdowns. We're going to do a playoff preview. This is week 2 of the playoffs, and you just don't ever know, Scotty, about how many teams will be left. Obviously, you want all your teams to win. We want all 5 of our teams that are in this area to win, but obviously that may not happen. But you know what? We're going to go for them. We're going to go for our teams, and we're going to root for them as best that we can tonight.
Hey, 4 teams playing tonight. Let's hope next week we got 4 teams playing.
Man, that would be an awesome time, and we want to thank all of you fans of River Valley Touchdowns. I don't know if you guys have gotten to see some of the posts that I have made about just the viewership that's involved with River Valley Touchdowns. But if you don't know this by now, we have exceeded 159,000. We're pushing. We should probably get about 160,000 views.
That's crazy.
Or we should hit 160,000 views, I should say, with this show today. And so we want to say thank you to everybody that has taken our show and has just moved it forward in a way that we did not expect, Scotty. When we first came into this thing was it looks completely different than what we thought it would.
I remember hearing about you guys' expectations and thinking, man, this could be huge. This could be great. It provides a great service to the people of the River Valley. But man, 160,000 views on this thing.
Yeah, it's been unreal. And if you don't know, this is Scotty Stone. He sat in for me about week 4, week 5. I'm Brad Caldwell. Mark is gone. He's out in the River Valley gallivanting, doing whatever he wants to do. And so
shocking.
Yeah, right. we're going to bring you this week 2 playoff edition of River Valley Touchdowns. Before we get to that, again, we want to say thank you to our sponsors: Phil Wright Autoplex, St. Mary's Regional Health Systems, Brangus, Miller Roofing, Cobb Jai. The list goes on and on. Atkins and Associates. There's so many, and I probably missed one. We want to thank you guys again as much as anybody as far as helping us to give this content to the River Valley. So again, we want to say thanks to everybody, and again, we're hoping for 5 teams to come out this week. That's what we're going to get kicked off right now with the St. Mary's Regional Health System game of the week, which is the Hector Wildcats. They're taking on the Mount Ida Lions. And Scotty, one thing that sticks out to me right now is the first thing that I think of is Mount Ida. Mount Ida is a team that has been in it year after year, especially lately. Last 5 years, Mount Ida has been a team that has been contending for state championships. This is an awesome opportunity for Hector in a way to be able to get through and break through and get a big-time signature win.
Well, we were just talking here in the office the other day about Hector and how good of a little sports town it is.
Right.
And they live for stuff like this, We talked about that basketball team back in the early 2000s that was really good, and Hector's always got a strong football squad, so it's a tough task tonight with this Mount Ida group, but playoff football, what's going to happen? That's why they play it out there on the field.
Well, one thing that you've got to love for Hector is, number one, it's a home game. The bye week is one of those things you just don't know exactly how it will play into your favor or not. Will you be rusty? Will you not? Hector's probably had a chance to get some of these kids that have been banged up, a chance to rest and a chance to get their legs back. So Hector should look like a fresh football team tonight, and they need to, because Mount Ida comes into the game, Scotty, just really a very, very good football team, averaging 33.6 points per game, only giving up 9.
Well, when you sit down and think about giving up 9 points a game, and we're talking about high school football where you've got, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, you can almost figure for a missed assignment, to give up 2 or 3 scores at any given time. These guys are giving up on average 9 points a game, so it sounds like they're well coached, they're disciplined, and Hector and the guys are going to have a tough task to get the ball going down the field against these guys.
And Hector, man, they bring a great offense into the game tonight, and we've talked about this guy ad nauseum. Cody Day, 1,271 yards passing coming into the game, Scotty, 857 yards rushing, but the big one that sticks out to you, 25 total touchdowns.
That's 10 years from now, people are going to be like, do you remember that day, kid?
Yeah.
You know, those are huge numbers. 25 touchdowns, you know, over 2,000, you know, total yards between passing and running. This guy's making a name for himself. He's etching himself into the Hector lore. So let's hope he gets one more chance after this week.
All
keep
as a
going.
first-year quarterback, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, my
can you
goodness.
imagine?
Is he a senior?
He is a senior.
Yeah.
Senior. He said, now I don't know who the quarterback was last year, but Tanner Gaines, kid that played well for Hector a few years back, one of those legendary type kids, very, very good athlete, playing at Arkansas Tech right now. I know a couple years back he was their quarterback. I don't know the stopgap quarterback there, but man, Cody Day has done an incredible job this year as the quarterback for the Hector Wildcats. Like you said, over 2,000 yards, 25 total touchdowns. He knows how to lead this Hector offense that averages 349.3 points or 349.3 yards per game, which is it's a pretty good total for a high school football team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see here in the notes that we've got, you know, they actually average more yardage than Mount Ida. So the difference is going to be on the defensive side of the ball. You know, obviously Mount Ida's got the numbers to prove that they can maybe stymie that offense a little bit. Hector's going to have to make some stops too.
Absolutely. And it is worth pointing out that most of, if not all of Mount Ida's yards come on the ground, 327.8 yards per game on the ground. And then they had a kid last week, Jonathan LaGrange, went for 298 yards last week. That's not a mistake, folks. 298 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. So obviously that's a kid that Hector's got a key on.
Absolutely. Keep an eye on that guy. Know where he is in the formation. You know, you got those kind of numbers, you can bet they're going back to him this week.
And then quarterback Cade Jackson, 980 yards rushing, which, you know, I haven't seen a lot of Mount Ida and what they do, but that obviously keys an option attack. So they're going to have an option attack coming at Hector on tonight. And Hector fans, get out, support your team. You know, sometimes that home crowd is as big a difference as anything else as there is out there to pull your team to victory.
And if there is a 2A squad that's going to have a good hometown presence, you know, I've got people on my Facebook page from Hector, and it's every Friday night. I mean, you can just it beams pictures and you know, go Cats and everything else. So I would expect a huge crowd for Hector tonight, and hopefully that'll be enough to push them over the edge against these guys.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Harding Academy and Lamar, Danville Smackover, Dardanelle Stuttgart, and Morrilton Blyville. You are watching River Valley Touchdowns, the playoff preview edition, Week 2, and we'll be back right after this.
A proud supporter of the Russellville Cyclones and all the local student athletes who make sports in the River Valley so great, Randy Adkins of Adkins & Associates wants to wish the best of luck to all the local teams and say, Go Cyclones!
Brangus Steakhouse is a locally owned business serving the River Valley and visitors since 1995. Offering steaks, ribs, chicken, burgers, and salads, there's something for everyone. Brangus is proud to serve only choice steaks and offers a kids menu as well as daily specials. Check them out on Facebook by searching Brangus Steakhouse. And if you're up for a real challenge, see if you can tackle the 4-pound steak, which is free if you can eat it within an hour. Brangus Steakhouse, open Monday through Saturday at 1509 East Main in Russellville.
Make that short drive to Russellville and see why so many people are buying the right way. At Phil Wright Autoplex in Russellville, hurry in for incredible savings like up to $12,000 off the 2018 GMC Yukons and up to $8,000 off the 2018 GMC Acadias. Ride in comfort in the GMC 2018 Terrains with up to $7,500 off. Hurry in for $14,500 off the 2018 GMC Sierras. Phil Wright Autoplex is the right place to buy, and there's a reason why we've been awarded the best auto dealership in the area for up to 9 years straight. Exit 84, just off 540, Russellville.
Welcome back into the playoff edition of River Valley Touchdowns preview show. I'm Brad Caldwell. This is Scotty Stone with me today, sitting in for Mark Freeman as Mark is still gallivanting doing his thing around the River Valley. But we're glad to have Scotty in. He knows his stuff, and we bounce stuff off Scotty all the time. So we're glad to have him in today. So moving on to our next game, which we're covering our home teams first. Those are the two that we have 2 home games in the area of the 5 teams that we have left in the playoffs here. Lamar is at home. They're taking on Harding Academy and the Wildcats from Searcy. And the biggest thing that sticks out to me, Scotty, about this game is this seems like 2 pretty evenly matched teams. But you've got Harding Academy's passing attack versus Lamar's rushing attack.
Man, what a great matchup, right? I mean, it's your typical 2 different styles of offenses. They put up the same kind of numbers, in terms of overall. But my goodness, Lamar is your typical run-oriented team that plays good defense. Harding, you were telling me earlier, they'll give up some points, but they're going to score them too.
They are.
And so 2 completely contrasting styles. This is going to be a fun game to watch right here.
Throughout the years, Harding Academy has been one of those teams similar to like the Shiloh Christians of the world that they're going to come out, they're going to look different than a lot of the other teams that you get a chance to play against. Now, that being said, we're watching Lamar and Atkins highlights right now. Atkins throws the ball, and they throw it a lot. Charleston threw the ball the week before, and they threw it a lot. I thought that Lamar did a great job last week, Scotty, of bouncing back from those 2 losses that they had versus Boonville and versus Charleston. That Charleston game was a complete letdown for Lamar. So coming into that game, Atkins was, even though they had lost to Glen Rose and they had beaten 2 Rivers, I felt like Atkins was a little bit on the uptick. Lamar was a little bit on the downtick. It was a great job by Coach Jones to get his kids ready to play against Atkins. And, man, what a game it was last week.
That I think of one word, grit. When my goodness, you've got Boonville and Charleston to end your conference season, and then you take 2 hard losses there, and then you bounce back and beat a good Atkins team first round. That's the kind of stuff that allows you to, advance to the next round of the playoffs, is that toughness and grit and preparation. So I'm looking forward to this one tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one for sure. Harding Academy comes in averaging 36.7 points per game. And, a good high school offense, if you're over 300 yards a game, you're a good high school offense. Harding comes in averaging 400 yards per game and 231 in the air, but they also come in about 190 on the ground.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers right here. Lamar averaging 229, rushing 302 total. Harding 231 passing, but 412 total. So they're more than just an air it out team. They'll hand it off and put it on the ground a little bit. Lamar's going to have to, I think you said before we started, they're going to have to figure out one of those. They're going to have to eliminate one of those from the game.
Right.
And we'll see what's going to happen. But
so my thing about this game with Lamar is Lamar has to control the ball. They got to keep the ball out of Harding's hands. The best defense that Lamar can play tonight will be a good offense. Man, I was so impressed with Lamar last week, Scotty, just watching them execute their offense, man. It was really a sight to behold. It looked like a different team than they did against Charleston the week before. They came in, love the misdirection that they have. Man, there's so many times that I would be shooting highlights and I'd be following this guy. This other guy would have the ball coming back the other way. And, man, it was really a great job by them. And Lamar, man, they are a physical football team. And if I am Lamar right now and I'm looking at Harding Academy, I'm saying I'm going to take it to them. They did a good job against Atkins. Now, let me tell you something about Atkins. They didn't back down from them at all. That was a very, very physical football game. They got to bring that same physicality to this game tonight. I don't think that Harding Academy can be as physical as Lamar.
Well, watching these highlights, you're watching these backs, man. They're keeping those feet churning. They're putting their shoulders down. They're driving. That's what you're going to have to do. You're talking about offense is the best defense. They need to get where, they're getting 2 or 3 yards a carry, getting set up in those 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, getting the first down, keep moving the sticks, and what that'll do to a team like Harding that wants to air it out, that'll completely deflate them. They'll get cold over there on the sidelines.
Right.
They'll get out of their rhythm, So, yeah.
And that's a good word that you just used. Let me stop you right there. Rhythm. That offense right there with Harding Academy is going to be very much a rhythm offense. That's very good that you said that.
And I'm looking at these clips here. It takes me back. I used to cover Lamar for the Courier, and I've covered some playoff games out there. And let me tell you, that place will be rocking tonight.
It will be.
They've got some great fans up there in Lamar, Arkansas.
Man, I'll tell you what, I just enjoyed that atmosphere the other night. Again, that was two very, very evenly matched teams. Atkins very easily could have moved on from that ball game the other night, but Lamar was able to pull it out, 28-24, hard hitting, slobber knocking type of football game, and I think that Lamar, that they've got to use that physicality to their advantage tonight. They have got to hit Harding Academy right in the mouth. They cannot be worried about this and that. They can't be worried about the name. They've got to be able to go at them and take the game to them. Harding and Lamar have actually met twice in the playoffs before. Harding won both times, so I'm looking for Lamar to bounce back. Man, I really like Lamar's chances tonight to advance into the next round of the playoffs, but it's not going to be an easy task.
No turnovers, ball control offense. You don't have to completely hold them scoreless, but you want to keep that offense tempered a little bit. And if you play a good game, they can win. You can't turn the ball over. You can't give up field position. But if you play a good ball game, I think they can beat these guys.
So moving on, we're going to go ahead and start to cover the Danville and Smackover game. We've got Danville on the road, traveling all the way down to El Dorado. This game is actually being played at El Dorado, by the way. Smackover's field wasn't in good condition. I don't know the whole story about that. I know that El Dorado's facility is an awesome facility, so it's going to be a cool opportunity for them to get an opportunity to play on an AstroTurf field, that sort of thing. That's going to be a good thing. Danville, to me, Dardanelle's the same way. Danville's not going to be scared going into this ball game. But to me, when I look at this ball game, it's a pretty tall task. This is a very, very tough matchup for Danville.
Well, Smackover by many people are considered, a shoe-in for the state championship game.
Yep.
So that there will tell you that it's going to be a tough task. But this Tolbert kid from Danville, averaging 100 yards a game rushing, turn around and hand him the ball.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The Donald kid, he can throw it a little bit in the air too. So, you find a little bit of balance. This is what's great about playoff football. You never know.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen. And these kids, we're sitting here talking as adults. These kids, some of them are going to be playing their last football game tonight. You can't put a measure on how much heart it takes to not want to get off that field for the last time. So it's going to take some tonight to beat Smackover in El Dorado, but. Those Little Johns have had a good year.
They have had a good year. They're another team. I look at Danville and Dardanelle as two teams that are just they're in the same county. They're so similar, Scotty. The way they run their offense, the physicality at the point of attack. I have been so impressed by Coach DJ Crane this year throughout our time. He has his kids prepared for every game. I know they're going to be prepared tonight for Smackover. The thing is can Danville keep up with Smackover speed? And the thing that you don't want to do as a Danville Littlejohn is you don't want to give up a bunch of big plays because, number one, obviously that's not good. Number two, it gives them momentum. It gives them that, when you watch them get a big play and then you see those sidelines just start popping and pumping and everybody's into it, and before you know it, they're causing a few turnovers, and this thing can roll downhill on you pretty quick. So Danville's got to eliminate the big play if they can. Keep Smackover from, make them drive the football. Make them drive it, and Danville can put themselves in a position to win. And then, of course, it's always one of those sayings that you say, you want to be in it at the fourth quarter. You want to have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. If you have that opportunity, then that's really all you could ask for.
Well, you know what they always say about speed, if you don't have it, you're chasing it. That's not necessarily true if they don't get behind you.
Right.
So if you play a good, hard-nosed, disciplined defense, I don't know what kind of offense Smackover runs, but, a lot of these misdirection plays that people run, just if these guys – and when I think Danville, I think of Coach Crane. I mean, that name's become synonymous with Danville. He's been there so long in one capacity or another. But play good assignment football on defense, eliminate the big plays like you said, keep it close. Man, this is November. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. And again, I want to point out, again, so many times I say this, and I'm going to say this about the next team too. They're just not scared. They're not going to be scared of them going in, and that's half the battle.
Absolutely.
You know, if you can go in and believe that you can win that game, then you can win the game. If you don't believe you can win it, you're not going to win the game.
Absolutely.
So Danville, they need a few things to happen for them, especially early, if they can make that happen. I look at Quentin Tolbert as a kid that can keep up with anybody, and he's about 200-pound running back, probably runs a 4.6, 4.7. I mean, he's been effective for them for a reason, and he's a very good player. Donnell's a kid that handles the offense. He does a good job of running it. Very similar to Metcalf at what he did at Dardanelle for this year. I look for Danville to go down there, play smack over tough. Again, it's a tall task, especially with the fact that you got to travel so long. But I know that Coach Crane talked about how that basically if it was anything over 2 hours, they stop, they go through a walkthrough, they stretched out. So I know they've done that today. They've gotten a chance to go eat, and they're probably getting pretty close to El Dorado right now. And so I know that they're going to have their opportunity. They're going to handle things the right way because, hey, when you have an experienced coaching staff like Danville does, that is a huge advantage to them.
Absolutely. We talk in playoffs, you get to see this. We don't always have teams that go far in the playoffs. You always hear people say, "Oh, it's the athleticism of South Arkansas or East Arkansas and stuff." Discipline. Look at Shiloh Christian. Look at Pulaski Academy. All of those, Boonville. All of these teams, and they are all very well coached. They're tough. They're not scared. Those are the three things you need to go and knock off a team that's way more athletic than you are. So. Hey, I think they've got it, man.
Danville's got those factors for sure. Moving on, we're going to go to Dardanelle Stuttgart. This one, the biggest storyline, and you are a Dardanelle guy, so you can speak to this a little bit, is that it's basically the Josh Price Bowl here, where you've got Josh Price, the old coach of Dardanelle, 70-36 in 9 years at Dardanelle. Now he's at Stuttgart. Phil Vega has taken over at Dardanelle. He has done an incredible job
Absolutely.
at Dardanelle. Carry on what Coach Price started there at Dardanelle, because I remember a time when Dardanelle wasn't very good, and when Coach Price came in, he started taking the level up of the Sand Lizards. Phil Vega has done a great job of continuing that tradition. This is going to be a very interesting game. I look for this one to be very, very physical.
Well, I don't know if Coach Vega's watching, but I don't know how he would feel about it being the Josh Price Bowl. Here's the thing. Coach Price did a wonderful job at Dardanelle. He laid a great foundation. Vega was on that staff with him for many years. But he had some athletes contributing to those good teams. We were talking the other day. You got Chris Kirshner, Christian Thompson, the Brown kids, Parker Witt. These are kids that are playing college football right now. I'm not sure that Dardanelle's got a big name like that. Listen, Blake Chambers is a stud, and he's had a great year. Metcalf had a great year before the injury. These are guys that are very good football players, and they're very, very well coached. And let me tell you, all the good things that Coach Price did at Dardanelle, none of those guys are thinking about that tonight. They want to go to Stuttgart and put it to him and go away with this win right now.
And I agree with you 100%. It's going to be that one's going to be a fun one. I wish that one was at Dardanelle tonight, Stuttgart, and it's another one of those games where Stuttgart probably has a little bit more athleticism. I like what you said about Dardanelle has so many kids that are just well coached, and I've said this on the show several times that Dardanelle doesn't have any superstar kids on the team. There are kids. I've pointed out Jaden Palmer at Russellville. I think he's probably the best player in the area. Quentin Tolbert is another kid that's a very good player. Chambers is a good player. They've got kids all over the field that are like Chambers, that are good. They're well coached. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. But they don't have anybody that's going to the Razorbacks. They don't have anybody that's going to Ole Miss. They might get some kids that, I know they've got a good junior class, so they might get some kids to move on and play a little bit after this next year. But, at the end of the day, though, like you said, it's about assignment football. It's about not being scared. It's about some want to. That's the things that Dardanelle's going to bring into this game. The question is going to be, in my mind, Dardanelle has gotten off to slow starts all year long. Last week they got off to a slow start. They're playing a better team than Jonesboro Westside. Westside brought in a very, very powerful rushing attack, but it was a one-dimensional team. You could shut them down. I don't know a ton about Stuttgart as far as what they do, but I know that a Josh Price team usually can do a little bit of both. And with the athletes that they have, I'm afraid if Dardanelle gets off to that slow start, it may be a rough time for them.
9-1, I think they've won their last 9 too, if I'm not mistaken. 15 seniors.
Yeah.
Look, this game is going to be tough for the Sand Wizards because you mentioned that great junior class. They're going to have a great year next year, but these guys have battled expectations all year long. Everybody kind of thought they were going to trend down a little bit this year. They started out in the Gentry in the first game, and it wasn't a very fast start. And everybody's like, it's going to be a tough year. Aside from the Mena game, they were right in there with the Ozark game, had a great chance to win that game. Aside from the Mena game, these guys have come to play every week.
Oh yeah,
So it's going to come down. They're going to have to play their best game of the season to beat this, but. With them having the connection with Coach Price at Stuttgart, that may be the little bit of extra that they need to get over the hump, that little extra motivation to feed the fire and to come away with a win.
Dardanelle, the best team they played all year is Ozark. My question would be, how does Stuttgart compare to Ozark? I mean, we don't know the answer to that. Ozark has a pretty good team this year. I think they're playing some of their best ball. At least they were toward the end of the regular season there. How good is this team? Because, if Stuttgart and Ozark are on the same level, Dardanelle went to Ozark and battled them teeth and toenail all night long. There would be some people that would say that, there was some zebra issues there that might have caused that. I don't know.
It was at Ozark, Brad. I mean, you know what could happen there, but no excuses.
Well, Mark, he'll definitely attest to that. There's no doubt about that. But there's some things that didn't break their way. That's for sure. I think there was one play where they said that the kid was sacked or something like that. Chambers ends up with the ball. He ends up scoring a touchdown on the play. Anyway, all that being said, that's past now. But what I'm asking is, if Stuttgart, Ozark are similar teams, Dardanelle's got a shot. Of course, matchups are matchups. Ozark might match up better to Stuttgart than Dardanelle does.
Huge
Dardanelle might match up. I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but I do know this. Again, Dardanelle's not going to be scared. They're going to go in there and they're going to play. They're going to want this victory tonight, and it's going to be. I think it's going to end up being a pretty good game.
Sure, yeah, I do too. I don't think anybody's going to blow out this Dardanelle team. They've played. They've got playoff experience. They've went deep into the playoffs, and plenty of times in the last 4 or 5 years. There's a good little culture built up around the program right now. They're not going to be scared. They're not going to get blown out. Wish we had Metcalf. You hate that for him. You hate that for the team. But they're gritty, they're tough. So
the Taylor kid, let's say this: he brings a little bit more athleticism than Metcalf does. Of course, Metcalf quarterback position is so important to be heady and smart. And Metcalf, he does a good job of running the ball and that sort of thing. They're going to miss him. There's no doubt about that. Kanan Taylor, though, first game that I saw him play, he was the best player on the field against.
He was your player of the week that week.
He was the player of the week that week. He was a very good player. He's been a very good player. He's dealt with injuries this year. He's dynamic, so he has some athleticism to be able to match up a little bit tonight. That's going to be interesting to see. So we're going to go to break, and then when we come back, we're going to cover Morrilton and Blytheville. That'll be the last game that we have for you for this week. Morrilton got a great shot against Blytheville, so we'll talk about that when we come back. You're watching River Valley Touchdowns Playoff Edition, Week 2.
Find new roads at Phil Wright Autoplex in Russellville and see why so many people are buying the right way, like up to $7,500 off the 2019 Chevrolet Equinox. Or drive away in a 2018 Chevrolet Cruze starting at $14,599. Find new roads with the 2018 Chevrolet Malibu up to $6,000 off. And don't miss up to $14,500 off the 2018 Chevrolet Silverado. For 43 years, Phil Wright Autoplex has been the right place to buy. And there's a reason why we've been awarded the best new car dealership in the area for the past 9 years straight.
Your little superhero is amazing. And as a parent, you want nothing more than for your kids to be safe, eat right, and grow up happy and healthy. That's why when your children face a strong-armed enemy like illness or injury, you want to place them in the hands of equally amazing caregivers. Caregivers like the pediatricians at Millard Henry Clinic. Our board-certified specialists have their own incredible set of superhero skills and insight, so that no matter what your kids face, you can trust our team to provide them with quality, compassionate care. In the quest to keep kids healthy in the Arkansas River Valley, every child needs to have a Millard Henry Clinic pediatrician in their corner, even superheroes. For an appointment, call Millard Henry Clinic.
Welcome back to River Valley Touchdowns Week 2 Playoff Preview Edition. Again, I'm Brad Caldwell. This is Scotty Stone sitting in for Mark today, and we are glad to have you along. Last game that we have to cover, again, we've got 5 teams in the area, and we want all 5 to come back. We want another show next week. We've got Morrilton. They're traveling all the way to Blytheville. I mean, you know, there's just not too many places that you can get further from Morrilton than Blytheville. It's 230 miles from Morrilton to Blytheville. That is a long way to travel to play a football game.
Maybe they should take their waders with them and do some duck hunting while they're over there, you know. So, yeah, that's a long way. Listen, you're riding a bus.
Right.
That's beating you up, especially on I-40. Everybody knows how bad I-40 is. Let me look at that on the map. My goodness, you can barely fit it in the screen there. But that's part of it, though. You know, when you've got this few teams left and they're playing in the playoffs, you know, somebody's got to go. So,
well, interestingly enough, Texarkana is in this pod. So there's a way that Morrilton may have to travel to Texarkana next week if they win, travel to Blytheville this week. Blytheville may have to travel to Texarkana or vice versa. We obviously don't want that to happen. There's several scenarios that might happen. But today, this game, we have talked a lot about Morrilton this year. And the biggest storyline for Morrilton this year has been the storyline of Jacoby Criswell. And Jacoby Criswell is a guy that is being offered. He's been offered by 4 SEC schools, Georgia, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. He's a guy that has some pretty big-time ability, and that has shown, Scotty, since he's come back. He's completed 64% of his passes since he's come back, 3 games, 661 yards, 7 touchdowns. I don't have his rushing totals down, but it's close to 300 yards, so he's almost averaging 100 yards per game rushing. He's been a catalyst for this 5-game winning streak, although they did win a couple before him. But he's been a catalyst. I believe I said last week that they had their hands full against Parkview because Brad Bolding is a really good football coach, and I thought that if without Criswell last week, they may not have been able to pull that one off. So here they are this week. They travel all the way to Blytheville, and Blytheville is the 5A East champion. Now, the funny thing about this is as time went on and we start watching playoff matchups, we get playoff brackets, you know, the unfilled out brackets before the year is over, and you start looking, well, you can slot Hector here, you can slot Morrilton here, you can slot Lamar here, all this, or slotting teams in. Well, I noticed that the 5A East champion is in Morrilton's pod, so I start looking at the 5A East, and 5A East is this big jumble of teams. Kid you not, Blytheville was out of the playoff picture. They win 2 games. People in front of them lose. They win the conference. They won the conference. And it was like a jumble of 5-2 teams. They ended up winning the conference.
So they'll take the title, but they didn't do much to earn it. Right?
Well, I mean, they tied for it. Yeah. But there was like a 3 or 4-way tie, no kidding, for the title. And so this is what I'm saying about this, though, is that it plays into Morrilton's hands. Sure. Okay? Morrilton was a team that coming into the season picked number 2 in the state by Hootens, a team that, you know, expected to have their star quarterback here and things were going to go great. Nothing really went right for Morrilton. But since that Alma game where they lost 23-22, they've won 5 in a row. Criswell's been the catalyst for that. And, you know, the thing is, I give them a great shot to win tonight.
Yeah, well, with Criswell on the field, you should. You know, am I mistaken? Didn't Quint Sterner say this is one of the best quarterbacks he's ever seen at this level?
Yeah, he's definitely given Criswell a lot of dap. You know, that's an interesting thing in itself too. He apparently wanted to commit to Arkansas, and Arkansas didn't take his commitment. Now, Chandler Morris is in play here. If you don't know who Chandler Morris is the coach's son at Arkansas. Now, that is a risky thing in itself. Now, I've seen Chandler Morris play. When I went down to Dallas and I was gone, you sat here for me. I watched Chandler Morris play that night. He's very good. Very good. In fact, I'm very interested to see Criswell play because I've seen him play. Sure. I'd love to compare the two. But we're talking about a kid, y'all, that he's just that good. And that's why we spend a lot of time talking about him, because he is such a big deal for Morrilton. But there's another guy that doesn't get the same amount of pub that that Criswell gets, but a guy that he pops up every week. This week, you know, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, he's going to go over 1,000 yards, and that's Xavier Clemens, 976 yards. Big stat for him, though, 17 touchdowns.
That's huge, man, in high school. And he's doing this a lot of the year without, you know, the gunslinger up there. You know?
Right.
So he's probably having to had more workload than he expected before the year, you know, and turn around and give him the ball a little bit more. But, yeah, those are huge numbers. You were telling me earlier that with the stats we have provided, we've only got 1,000-yard rusher in the River Valley. Well, this guy here is 24 yards away from being a 1,000-yard rusher. So that's pretty strong. That tells me he can play, and that gives Criswell an excellent option out of the backfield, along with Mason Adams, number one receiver.
That zone read there that they have to run with Clemens and Criswell, that's a tough thing to stop right there.
I bet, yeah.
It's got to be tough to stop for sure. You know, again, the questions are going to remain. You know, the thing that sticks out to me, Blytheville averages 31.2, so they can score a little bit. Mm-hmm. But they also give up 22 a game. So when you look at the offense that Morrilton does have, I actually think Morrilton should be the favorite going into this game. Now, you got to take, you know, travel and all these different factors in. But if I'm looking at the better team, who's the better team tonight, I think Morrilton's probably the better team.
Yeah, I think I'd be along with you there. You've got some notes here about the Big D line, Darius Nichols and Jerome Spiller. So, yeah, that's going to be 6'2", 265 and 6'2", 280.
Oh, yeah, two college-sized linemen for sure on the defensive line, both going to be defensive tackles. Yes, they are big. Those are guys that you're going to have to be able to control. You're going to have to keep them out of your backfield. You're going to have to keep them off Criswell. The thing about Morrilton's offense, though, there's just so many different options that they have. You know, they run that RPO style of offense, and it makes the defense just go nuts. Alma did a really good job on Morrilton the night that I was over there. I don't know if Blytheville's as good defensively as Alma is. It's hard to say. I mean, Alma did just get 50 hung on them by PA, but Lord, who doesn't get 50 hung on them by PA? But all that being said, you know, I think Morrilton can score on Blytheville. I really do. I think they can score on them, which is going to give them an opportunity to win the ball game. And again, things fall right for them. Morrilton wins. Little Rock Christian wins. Morrilton will host Little Rock Christian next weekend in a game that could be, man, that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Great would that be? Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun to watch, and I'd hope to get a chance to be over there. So we're going to bring you a recap show on Monday of just all of the things that have happened. We've got we got people at Hector, we got people at Lamar. I'm hoping to get our people at Dardanelle to give us a little bit. Tara, if you're watching, we appreciate what you've done for us. We really thank you, really do thank you all for all you've done with us, giving us the highlights that you have given us. We couldn't have made it happen without you. We couldn't have made it happen without our Hector folks giving us all of those Twitter highlights that we've had all throughout the year. I mean, it's just one thing right after another, Scotty. It's just been a really good year for us. We hope that we'll have a little bit more to bring for you next week. We've got 5 teams in it. Again, we want 5 teams to come out. We know that's, you know, it's probably not likely. The percentages aren't for that, but, you know, anything can happen in high school football.
What a great area for high school football.
It really is.
And this is a perfect storm. This show I'm happy to fill in for either one of you guys. I have a great time doing this, but you and Mark, the Staples, it's a perfect storm for an area that kind of gets, snited by Little Rock and snited by Northwest Arkansas. There's not a lot of coverage here. Something like this is great, and it couldn't be going out to better people. All these guys are, all of you folks are great fans of your local sports teams and everything, and we love each and every one of them, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate that. We have enjoyed our time here for sure. It's been a great time. We're looking forward to next year, but we still have a couple things to wrap a bow on this year, so we're hoping that we can come back to you for some more River Valley touchdowns. Again, thank you to all of those 160,000 views. I can't even, it just doesn't even hardly comprehend. I can't comprehend it. That 160,000 views for sponsored content. If you are watching this show right now, and that's right, I said sponsored content, that means that you have gotten an opportunity to put your business in front of 160,000 different views throughout the year. I don't know how valuable that is. It seems pretty valuable to me, and just get your message out there. So we thank all of our sponsors that have invested into River Valley Touchdowns this year. I look for it to be even bigger next year as River Valley Now grows and our Facebook grows like it has. I look for it to be just another whopper of a season again next year.
We've got some ideas that we've been tossing around in the back, and let me tell you, some of the stuff that these guys have thought up, and with Matty back in the production room, man, some of the things he's capable of doing. Yeah, next year is going to be huge, but we're not ready for next year yet. We want some of these teams to win so we can keep going on this year.
Keep going. It has been an enjoyable ride for us so far, and so we'll leave you with that today. Again, thank you for everything. I have gone ad nauseum. I can't thank it enough anymore, but we do really appreciate everybody that has joined us and all of the viewers that have joined us. So, hey, Hector, give us a win tonight. Lamar, give us a win tonight. Danville, give us a win tonight. Dardanelle, give us a win tonight. Morrilton, give us a win tonight so we can talk a little bit more about you next week. And so at that, I will leave it at that. So I'm Brad Caldwell, Scotty Stone sitting in for Mark Freeman, Matty in the back. We say goodbye for now. We will talk to you on Monday.